Hello everyone. So we have today another account review. This account review is going to be for iBigWhite. We have quite a few interesting things that we're going to have a chance to play around with here. But before I get started on that, I'm going to put up on the screen right now what you would need to do if you'd like to get an account review from me. So go ahead and check that information out and follow that. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and take a look at iBigWhite. So iBigWhite has some interesting stuff going on here. He's actually pretty well positioned to be able to knock out Dragon's B10 and then move right into DB10. He already has a Verti-heal ready to go. And yeah, he has some of the most integral monsters that you already need to be able to do a lot of this. So he's set up for success with the monsters he has. So it's a matter of basically getting the right team down and being able to get good runes for all of them. So let's take a look at what we have. Per his email, if I can ever bring it up here, currently working on Auto GB7 and TOA 40, but would like to be able to do GB10 and go farther into TOA. Easy enough, you have all the monsters for it already. So let's get started on talking about GB10. So for GB10, there's a very standard lineup. I generally tell everyone that you can go with. In your case, you have a lot of different options that you can mix and match with. But let's start off with the basis. The basis of this team is going to be Veramos as your lead. If Veramos is going to be your lead, you want to make sure that he's around 20,000 health, that his speed, if he's on Swift, which I assume he is, yes, his speed, it needs to be above 200. Accuracy is perfectly fine where it's at 45, and defense is going to be fine where it's at for now. So what you need to work on is your HP and your speed. Generally speaking, I would recommend speed on 2, HP on 4, and HP on 6. You've already done this, so it's going to require you to get some, first off, get some 5-star runes. You want to start switching over to 5 and 6-star runes. Getting those all up to plus 12. You don't want to have any of these plus 9s sitting around here if you're trying to do GB10. So you should be sitting at plus 12 on all those runes. And yeah, like I said, honestly, you're looking pretty good. So just get a few more Swift runes, or any runes for that matter, that have speed on it. And don't be afraid to go broken set for your 2 set. Like, just break it and do whatever you want. Because quite frankly, a 15% HP bonus might already be something that you have on 2 different sets of runes that are significantly better than trying to stay within 1 set, right? So yeah, go ahead and get that taken care of. Get those stats knocked out of the way, and your Veramos will be ready to do GB10, no problem, and also TOA for that matter. So the second monster in this team, as normal, is Bernard. Bernard needs to be as fast as humanly possible. Get him way above 200 speed. He should be the fastest member of your team by a long shot. And then he really doesn't need too much beyond that. Because he's wind, he doesn't need to have as high of a health requirement. About 15 to 16,000 would be sufficient. And in addition to that, if you can get his accuracy up to around 45%, that would be great. But otherwise, main thing with him, get his speed and his health up to the amount you need. Like I said, same for as with Veramos, speed, HP is what I would suggest. If your accuracy, looks like you're getting almost the entirety of your accuracy from this 6-star rune. If you don't have the accuracy to get up to around 30%, maybe consider leaving this accuracy rune in here and making up your HP in the substats of your other runes. The third team member is Bella Dion. With this one, she's interesting because she has a decent base health. Sometimes going speed, HP, defense with her is the best way to go. But again, with her, she needs to be somewhere around Veramos' speed, around 200. So speed, HP, defense, or speed, defense, HP, or if absolutely necessary, speed, HP, HP. I see you weren't afraid to go broken set here, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, Early on, you're just not going to have the runes to be able to do a lot of 2-set bonuses and get the stats you need, and that's perfectly fine. But remember, it is important that you don't have a lot of these. I mean, unfortunately, this is not a great rune for Bella, right? I get what you're trying to go for. It's a 6-star rune, so it has lots of HP for its primary stat. I see what you're doing there, and maybe it's the only thing you had available to you. But I would take a look around. Try to see if you can replace this with something else. Maybe keep this for some sort of attack-type monster. But yeah, you shouldn't be having many of... If you're getting ready to go into DB10, right? If you're trying to make a push for it, you shouldn't have many of these +9 runes. You should be starting to work your way up to +12. So we want to get her health up around 20,000 as well. Defense is a little low, unfortunately, which means that she's going to, because if your defense, if you have a high HP, right, but very little defense, it just means that they're going to take larger chunks of your health out at a time. So having that high HP will be irrelevant because they'll kill you. A 20,000 HP monster with 500 defense is going to die much faster than an 18,000 with 1,000 defense. So yeah, try to work on the defense a little bit. See what you can do there. Accuracy absolutely has to be at 45% for Bella. Bella is absolutely critical on your team for being able to do an armor break and to strip the attack buff off of the Giants boss. So those are your goals. You want to get this to around 20,000. If you go for 18, that's fine. Get your defense to around 800 to 1,000. Accuracy to 45%. And speed up to 200. Alright, so that's what you're aiming for. The fourth member of your team is Shannon. Shannon suffers from being a 2-star monster, so while her kit is amazing, her base health is very low. So right now, you're a little low on health. With her, you want to get up to about 15,000 or so. And then in addition to that, you want to get to her speed to around 150, 160 range. It doesn't have to be absurd, but you do want to get that up there. Accuracy can be around 35-ish%. You're going to be using her for glancing and to slow down the boss. And in addition to that, she's also your buffer. But because she isn't doing a lot other than the buff, her speed doesn't have to be as critically high. Though you do want to make sure it's decent enough so that she's keeping up with buffs and not having it fall off the people right away. A despair set on her makes sense for the TOA dungeons. However, if you're having trouble, you might want to consider switching over to Swift until your team is well ruined, and then switch her back over to despair. It's just a thought. You can go either way, test it out, see how you like it. So, HP needs to be around 15 to 16,000. Defense could be a little bit better, but I wouldn't sweat it too much since you're going to be working on other things here. Your speed is going to be around 150 to 160. And accuracy up to 35, and you should be good with her. The final member of this team is Darian. Where is he at? I know I saw him in here. See, he's hiding from me now. And by the way, one of the things that looks like you're going to need to start focusing on is 6-starring some monsters. You have a couple different options when going about that route. Generally speaking, most people will recommend either Veramos, Bella, or Darian as one of the three, since their kit requires them to actually be hitting and doing something as far as damage goes, whereas Megan and Bernard are really only there for their buffs and their speed, which are not affected by 6-starring them. So Darian is mainly here for this third skill, Knighthood, which is going to make your team much more survivable. He'll be a backup for defense break, and then also for this, attack break. So you have 2 attack breakers between Bernard and Darian. The nice part about him being such a backup for everything is A, he's easily replaceable when it's time for you to start moving on, and B, his stat requirements are not very difficult. You want to get his HP high because he skills off of that. So if you can get up above 20,000 HP for his Slash Rocks attack, then that would be best. And then from there, you want to make sure your defense is around 600 to 700, and accuracy around 35. I mean, if you can get it up to 45, that's great. But because he's a backup, it's not as critical. His speed is also not as critical. So he can get kind of the worst runes. Your main goal is just to make sure that he has enough defense and health to stay alive the entire time. That's really what you're shooting for with him. So that's your primary team. So you have a leader of Veramos, Bernard, Darian, Shannon, and Bella. But here's where we get a little fun. Because you have so many monsters, you have different options. And so I went through and I made a list of where each different roles are taken care of between all of your monsters. And I figured out a second team, which might be kind of interesting to use. This team's advantage is that everyone in the team is a wind unit, which means that the stat, HP, and defense runing for them is much lower, which means that you could actually get away with doing a lot more with this team. So here's the team. First off, we have Bernard as the leader. Because he has a leader skill that allows him to give extra attack power to your team, they're not going to need to be as well ruined as far as damage goes. Second off, we have Chisun. So Chisun is an amazing healer. She is just an absolute tank of a healer. Best thing to generally do with her, keep her speed high, try to get up to around 200. Keep her defense high and keep her HP high. She doesn't really need anything other than that. It's nice if she has some accuracy for her glancing on 1, but Shannon is going to be on this team, so you're already going to have some glancing. Lots of HP, defense, and speed, and you'll get everything you want out of Chisun. She'll be able to give you an attack break or an attack bonus, right? She'll strengthen your attack. She will give you a heal, and she'll give you that super balance heal, which is, I mean, this is a really, really nice, because it allows for her to actually get attack bar back while healing the lowest health member of your team. I see a lot of times in like my own runs where she'll go to heal an attacker who's almost at full attack bar, and she'll get him all the way up to full health, and then she'll get another turn already, which means that she's already ready to use a muse again. So Chisun is going to be kind of your healing machine on this team. Bernard is who you're going to actually rely on for your armor breaks, even though it's not terribly reliable. So if you go with this, you want to make sure Bernard has a 45% accuracy. Then he would actually be required to have a high accuracy, which 45% is the most you'll need for Giants and for TOA. So the third member of this team would actually be Delphoy. That is the Wind Undyne. So the reason why I have her in here is she actually would serve 2 different units. She would actually be a backup for the fact that she actually decreases attack speed, which is something that Shannon is going to do as well. In order to make this work, though, you're going to have to give her some critical rate. So, around 50-ish% would make it fairly reliable, and give her some amount of accuracy, 30-35% range, in order to make that work. But in addition to that, she also has an immunity skill, Spirit's Blessing. It removes all harmful effects and gives immunity, so there's actually a chance that after cleansing the armor break, the next armor break that comes in, if they still have immunity up, will actually just be blocked altogether, and you no longer have to worry about that. But in addition to that, it also heals. So very, very useful ability. Unfortunately, her Mind Shock is not really going to be useful for you. I don't believe the boss can actually have his skills put on cooldown. That's fine, though. Your main thing that you're going for with her is being able to slow and to be able to do backup healing with cleansing and immunity. Immunity is very, very useful. And so with her, you want to make sure that she has decent speed, get her to around 150, 160 range. If possible, get her up to 200. Because she's your cleanser, you always want to have your cleanser going really, really fast. HP would need to be around 15. Any wind monsters, they're going to be around 15 to 16,000 for your HP, and your defense is going to want to be around 5 to 600 at least. And yeah, like I said, accuracy around 30 to 35%, get her crit rate up to about 50%. She'll get an inbuilt bonus because she's attacking a water monster, so it'll have like a 65, I think it's a 15% bonus, so 65% chance to crit, and that's more than enough if you're just looking to make sure you keep a slow on the boss. So that is Delphoy. The fourth member of the team would be Shannon. So again, she would be taking care of buffing. You'd be doubling up on your attack bonus, which means that there's a good chance at all times you'll have an attack bonus going, which is already beautiful because you have a leader skill, which is also giving you attack bonus. So you're going to have a lot of just built-in attack on this team. And you already know her requirements. She hasn't really changed from what I told you before. The final member of the team to give you an attacker is actually the Wind Puree. So there's a couple of things that the Wind Puree has for you that might be kind of interesting. First off, she's a stripper. She removes their buffs. And since you do not have one on this team, you actually need that. Let's see, making sure Shannon, Delphi, Chesoon, Bernard, yep. So you need a stripper on your team, right? To get rid of the attack break on the boss. So this is going to actually be your stripper, which means that you want to have her with a decent accuracy rate. I would say 35 to 45% would be what you're shooting for. In addition to that, she inflicts continuous damage, which is always beneficial on bosses. It's 5% of their health each turn. In this case, it's just 5% there. Not a huge attack, but the continuous damage is really nice to have. Just period. Now, this is going to be where it gets a little weird because maybe some people don't like it for this. Maybe some people do. Here's the thing. Spinning Slash, it hits 5 times, so there's a good chance that Water Puree is going to get hit. Because of that, you need to make sure she's buffed out a little bit, which means you're going to have to reduce some of the attack that you would want to put on an attacker. But because you have the attack bonuses and you have the leader skill, that's fine. You should be able to get away with that. So, each attack has a 50% chance to decrease the target's defense for 2 turns. This attack depletes the enemy's attack bar when used with full HP. Because you have 2 healers, there is a decent chance that she'll be at full health when she uses this attack. So that means she has a chance to armor break, and in addition to that, she has a chance to completely reduce the giant's attack bar. This is exceptionally useful because a lot of times what will happen in there is that you'll actually get hit by a counterattack, and then he'll take his turn and just kill whoever he counterattacked in just an AoE attack against everyone. So, Spinning Slash, it's a negative and a positive. Could be used both ways. That means that your HP with her, because she's going to get struck so much more often, is probably going to have to be a little bit higher than you'd normally go for an attack monster. I would say 17 to 18,000. I would be shooting for a defense that's somewhere around, probably around 600 to 700. A crit rate of around 50 to 60% at least. And like I said, if you can, if you can get any attack in there, go for it. But if not, don't worry about it. But the accuracy needs to be about 35 to 45. So she's going to have a lot of stat requirements if you go with her. But it could be a really interesting build and could actually work out really well for you. So those are my thoughts as far as a secondary team that you could consider going with instead of the normal stuff. And yeah, I think it'd be kind of interesting. So if you do decide to go with that, let me know. I'd like to see how it turns out for you. So what are some monsters that you could use as replacements as you go on? Well, there's 2 that I very specifically saw that you might want to start thinking about. Megan is the first one. Megan is a kind of the buffer for dragons, the starter buffer for dragons. So as you have Shannon for giants, you would use Megan for dragons in the same way. The things that she has that are so useful, first off, her buff is essentially the same as Shannon's, with the exception that it has 1 turn less on it, but also increases the attack bar. She has a strip effect on her toad poison, which is very useful for DB10. And we talked about continuous damage. She has that. So she can actually do a little more damage than you would expect a support monster to be able to do on the boss. So if you're trying to prep for DB10, you may want to consider starting to use good runes on her, and maybe even replace her with Shannon, as it's easier to get her health up. Now, Shannon is the better option, but if you need those runes to go somewhere else, or Shannon, you don't want to put the time and effort into Shannon, I use Megan and Giants just fine. It's not a problem. So there's the one unit. The other one is actually Miang. Miang is kind of an interesting monster. She doesn't do anything amazingly well, but she does a little bit of everything. So she has the same attack one as all of the Sky Dancers, or whatever they're called. The Sky Dancer, yeah. I don't even know them by their base monster name anymore. So she has the same first attack as all Sky Dancers. But in addition to that, she also has this Blade Fan attack, which is exceptionally useful. She has a chance to remove beneficial effects, and as part of removing that, also increase the attack bar of enemies. And this attack also increases in damage according to speed. So a healer, naturally, a healing support monster, you would naturally want to have on a really high speed. So because of that, this attack actually becomes stronger, and she increases everyone else's attack bar, and she removes attack benefits, which is exactly what you want against the dragon, and can be used against a giant if necessary. In addition to the heal that she has on her skill 3, she also extends the time of beneficial effects, so she would be useful for, like I was saying, that Megan that doesn't have as long as a Shannon does. This helps out with that. In addition to that, if you do choose to still use Shannon, that means it's going even longer, which means that there's almost no downtime in Shannon's buff at all. And in addition to that, shortens the harmful effect time of whatever units are on him, which is essentially a cleanse. Not in all cases, if it's 3 or 2 turns that something's on there, then in that case it doesn't cleanse it off, it just removes it by 1. But in most cases, this effectively acts like a cleanse and significantly weakens most other debuffs that last longer than 1 turn. The only trick with her is that the recovery amount is proportional to attack. I think actually it changes when you awaken her. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's according to the attack power, which is a little weird. But that just means that you have to kind of build her out weird. Instead of Chassoon, where you go heavy on the HP, you would want to do something like speed, HP, attack, or speed. Honestly, speed, attack isn't bad, but then you'd have to find a lot of HP in your substats, and that's fine. But the same rules apply. You want to get 18 to 20,000 HP on her. You might not be able to do that yet with your substats, and in that case, speed, attack, HP, or speed, HP, attack would be kind of the way to go with that. So those are the 2 that I could see as you're starting to get ready for DB10. Other monsters that are worth mentioning is the Water Battle Mammoth, which you could always play around with if you would like. He has a good skill set for being able to do stuff. I would say, honestly, the Water Battle Mammoth is a better option to run for TOA, but you could always run it in Giants if you want. And then in addition to that, you have Konamiya, who is a really cool cleanser because the cleanse is on such a short cooldown time. 3 turns is very uncommon for a cleanser. And then in addition to that, being able to give an attack increase and attack bar increase to someone means that more people are getting turns. Unfortunately, in an auto team, he sometimes will pick dumb people, so you want to kind of set his speed so that he is going just after an attacker would probably go, because that person will have the lowest attack bar, which means that Konamiya will use him. Essentially, whoever you want Konamiya to go to give the attack boost to, this research to, you want them to start off you want them to go just before him. Let's see here. So we talked about all of those. Yeah, I think we covered everyone. Those are going to be your best monsters for Giants, I would say. So take a look at those. Start building those out. As far as TOA goes, there's kind of the general setup that you want to go with TOA is lots of speed, lots of control, and lots of health. Those are your main goals, right? And so a good general starter team is going to be your Beretta as your team lead, because he has that speed leader, which is wonderful to have. He also has Turbulence, which for bosses is exceptionally useful to be able to reset their attack bar when they're getting ready to turn. And then Phoenix Fury for putting down continuous damage. Now, in TOA normal, continuous damage is not as useful as TOA hard, where monsters have obscene amounts of health. That doesn't change the fact, though, that he does make for an interesting damage dealer in terms of being able to stun them and put continuous damage on for 3 turns. That's 10%, 3 turns, that's 30% of their health from one ability. So he's interesting. Maybe not great, though, at the beginning, but I would still start with him. I'd still go ahead and start using him. So speed, get him way, way up there. You want him on Despair, and you want him really fast. Again, around 200 would be the best. You want your HP around 20,000. Accuracy around 45. From there, you just kind of build out whatever extra you want. I have actually just got a Brandia myself, and I've been thinking about ways to use her, and TOA is one of those things I've been thinking of. Specifically, the counterattack levels, where you have monsters that counterattack. Aura of Dawn, I think, is going to be exceptionally useful for being able to nullify those levels. But that would be the primary use that I would see for her, so she's more of a specialty use case. I wouldn't use her necessarily as part of your auto team. So main team, Beretta as the lead, Bernard as your speed person, Shannon for buffs, Bella for attack breaks, strip, heals, and Veramos as a stun machine. This is one of the other reason why you want him really fast, because in TOA, he will stun the crap out of everything he sees. So you would have a stun person here that's built in on the skill 2, right? Then you'd have Despair Shannon for stuns, AoE stuns, and then every once in a while on her first skill, obviously. And then same thing with Beretta. Those are the 5 units that I would suggest starting to use. Some of the ones that you will eventually want to bring in, having a Brian is really, really useful. I'm actually a little jealous because I still can't get one. But the big thing with him is having him on Despair and having him really, really fast. First skill, obviously, for HP recovery, disturbing HP recovery is nice. The main reasons you want him, though, is for Deadly Wave. So, and this one, AoE attack break. I don't need to explain why that's good. And then having an AoE attack with Despair means he'll be getting some stuns in there as well. And in addition to that, supply is really useful. This is probably one of the most useful revives in PvE, which is player versus environment. The reason why I say that is when he brings someone back, when he revives someone, the health of everyone balances out, which means the AI resets and won't just go after the monster you just revived, which is really useful because a lot of monsters will just revive them at 20%, and then a monster on the other team will go and just kill them right off again. It's completely useless. So Brian is actually super useful and will be something you want to make sure you take a look at getting leveled up here pretty quickly. Mav changed the name of the game for me. I was able to do so much more after I actually skilled him up and got him to 60 or 6-starred. He's going to be your tank, right? He's going to be able. So the stun on 1, the recovery, or the provoke on 2, right? And he heals himself. He heals himself and then provokes. He can sustain himself. I've had times where I go in with all 5 monsters being just non-healing monsters, and the only person who takes damage is Mav because he keeps provoking and then healing himself. Great combination. And then the main thing that you want him for is right here. Wings of Wind. So it is a cleanse of 1 harmful effect across all allies. This includes inability effects, so Veramos is not useful towards inability effects, But Wings of Wind will remove stuns, freezes, things like that. But the main thing that's super important about him is that he decreases the skill cooldown by one turn each, and increases the attack speed for 2 turns. So, first off, if you go with him, you're going to want to go ahead and take Bernard out of the lineup. There's no reason to double up on those attack speeds. That's just, it's a waste. You know what I mean? So you could take out Bernard and replace it with Mav. The thing that really gets me with Mav is that reduces the skill cooldown by 1. Now, if you don't have monsters who are fully skilled up, so don't have their cooldown reduced, it can feel like you're playing shorthanded. Like, for instance, not having the Phoenix's Fury up more than once every 5 turns, right? I don't have mine fully maxed. I don't have it at 4. But because of Mav, I have that up sooner than I'm supposed to have it, which is very useful for me. And this is very useful for the stuns on Veramos, the heals on Bella, the buffs on Shannon. All of these things are things that you want to have coming up faster and faster and faster. You want to use them more and more. And because of that, Mav actually makes your team much more viable when they otherwise would not have been. How many times have you been in a situation like, oh no, I just need one more turn and I could have healed with Bella, right? That's exactly what he allows for. And it has a super short skill cooldown time. I think after you actually max out the skill, it's like 3 turns for it to come off a cooldown. It's an amazing skill. Amazing skill. I highly suggest taking a look at Mav for your TOA team. So those are going to be the monsters that I think would actually set you up for winning Big White. I think once you do that, once you ruin them those ways, you'll be able to beat GB10 and TOA, no problem. That's exactly how I did it. And like I said, you have a lot of cool monsters. You can go with an alternate team if you want to try something else, or if you're having a hard time getting health on your monsters. You know, that all-win team, that's great. So, primary team that I suggest, I'm putting it up on the screen right now, is Veramos' leader, Bernard, Darian, Shannon, and Bella. And the second team, which I'm putting up on the screen right now, is the Win team, with Bernard as the lead, Chasun, Delphoy, Shannon, and Sophia. So, take a look at those teams, try to get those going, start working on your Beretta for TOA, start working on Mav and Bryant, the Wind, Death, Magic Knight, or Death Knight. Sorry, I always get their nights mixed up. And I think once you do that, once you have those all set and ready to go, you're done, man. You're going to be able to take those teams out no problem. And like I said, you already have a lot of monsters who are going to do great in Dragons B10. So I think you're going to be able to transfer right from B10 Giants right into B8 Dragons, get a couple more runes farmed up, ready to go, then B9, B10, and you're doing Dragons right away. So yeah, take a look at those teams. I think that's going to work for you, and I think you're going to be able to win that way. Guys, I appreciate everyone stopping by. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it down below in the comments. Like, subscribe. It helps me out a lot. I'm trying to get started here. I'm trying to build a bigger audience. I would appreciate it if anyone is able to do that. But in the meantime, if you want me to do an account review for you, I'm putting up that information one more time on the screen. And go ahead and get in contact with me through my Gmail account there, and I will add you onto my friends list. I'll do an account review for you just like this one, so you have a record of it to reference back to, and you'll be good to go. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day. Bye.